Tonight is not just about a football match. Tonight is about a club that is carrying the weight of multiple crises at the same time. Before a single ball is kicked at Stamford Bridge in this Champions League second leg against Paris Saint-Germain, Chelsea are already dealing with a financial punishment, an injury to their captain, a transfer rumour involving one of their most important players, and a boardroom controversy that has left supporters furious. This is a club that is simultaneously fighting for survival in a European tie and fighting to hold itself together. So let us go through every single story that is surrounding Chelsea right now, one by one, with full context and full analysis. If you are serious about understanding Chelsea at a deeper level and not just the surface headlines, then hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is built for supporters who want the full picture. Now, let us get into it. Let us start with the most serious official development first. An independent commission has handed Chelsea a fine of £10.75 million for breaches of the Premier League rules relating to financial reporting, third-party investment and youth development under the ownership of Roman Abramovich. That is the confirmed fact, £10.75 million. But the financial penalty is not the only punishment. Chelsea have also been sanctioned with an immediate 9-month academy transfer ban. Additionally, there is a suspended one-year first-team player transfer ban, which has been suspended for 2 years. Chelsea have accepted both sanctions. The Premier League investigation established that between 2011 and 2018, undisclosed payments by third parties associated with the club were made to players, unregistered agents and other third parties. The Premier League confirmed that Chelsea accepted, among other things, that making those payments and the failure to disclose them to the league constituted a breach of the requirement to act in good faith. One important detail that must be noted is that the self-reporting by the current ownership group Clearlake and Bowley was considered when assessing the severity of the punishment. It is also important to note that a separate Football Association disciplinary process involving the club's alleged breaches of Football Association regulations arising out of similar conduct remains ongoing. Now, let me give you my take on what this means. The fine itself, £10.75 million, is significant but not catastrophic for a club of Chelsea's financial size. What is far more consequential is the 9-month academy transfer ban. Chelsea have built a significant part of their modern transfer strategy around buying young talent, developing it through the academy pathway or loaning it out and bringing it back. A 9-month block on academy transfers disrupts that pipeline directly. The suspended first-team transfer ban is essentially a sword hanging over the club. It means any further violations within the next 2 years could trigger that ban and completely freeze Chelsea's ability to sign senior players. For a club that has spent aggressively to rebuild its squad, that is a serious threat they cannot afford to ignore. The fact that Clearlake and Bowley self-reported is important context. It suggests the current ownership cooperated rather than resisted, and that cooperation is the reason the punishment was not harsher. The violations themselves trace back to the Abramovich era, not to the current ownership. However, the Football Association process is still running, and that is where further jeopardy remains. This situation is not fully closed. Now let us move to news that directly affects the second leg tonight. Pedro Neto escaped a ban after pushing a ball boy against Paris Saint-Germain in the first leg. He was only warned, cautioned for unsporting behaviour and given a fine. The conclusion is that he can play in the return fixture. That is the confirmed outcome, a caution and a fine, no suspension. From a Chelsea perspective, this is a significant relief. Pedro Neto is one of Chelsea's most dynamic attacking players. His pace, his direct running and his ability to beat defenders in 1-versus-1 situations are exactly what Chelsea need if they are going to cause Paris Saint-Germain problems at Stamford Bridge. Had he received a ban, Chelsea would have been walking into this match already without their captain Reece James and also without one of their most dangerous wide attackers. The fact that Neto is available gives Liam Rosignol one less major headache going into what is already a near impossible task. The incident itself, pushing a ball boy, is the kind of moment that happens in high-pressure European football. The disciplinary decision was made, the punishment was proportionate according to the Commission, and the matter is now closed. The focus turns to whether Neto can deliver on the pitch when Chelsea need him most. This is perhaps the most damaging team news ahead of the second leg. There is no sign of Reece James in Chelsea training. The captain is absent, and separately, more details have emerged about the nature of his situation. Liam Rosignol spoke about Reece James and his injury in the following terms. His exact words were, "Any player at any time. If you feel something, you are going to be worried about it." It was towards the end of the game. That is the manager's own description of how the injury concern emerged. It happened late in a match and it caused immediate concern. Further context makes the situation even clearer. Chelsea tried to manage Reece James's fitness, but he had carried a heavy workload in the past month. He was given starts in 5 of the past 6 games by Liam Rosenior. Let me be direct about what this picture tells us. Reece James was being relied upon too heavily. 5 starts in 6 games for a player who has had significant injury problems throughout his career is a workload that always carried risk. The club were trying to manage him, but the reality is that the demand of competing on multiple fronts meant James was regularly called upon. Now Chelsea are facing a Champions League second leg, needing to overturn a 3-goal deficit without their captain, their best right-back, and one of the most technically complete players in the squad. His absence does not just hurt the defence. Reece James contributes going forward. His delivery, his crossing, his ability to drive forward from deep are all tools that Chelsea cannot easily replace. Rosenior's words about being worried whenever a player feels something are honest, but that comment also highlights how precarious the situation is. This is not a minor knock. The word hamstring has been used in connection with James, and hamstring injuries require careful management and sufficient recovery time. The suggestion is that he will be sidelined for several weeks. For Chelsea's top 5 ambitions in the Premier League, this is a serious blow beyond just the Paris Saint-Germain match. Reece James at full fitness is a completely different proposition to the alternatives available at right-back. Liam Rosenior spoke about Chelsea's pressing system and what happened in the first leg against Paris Saint-Germain. His exact words were, "If you look at the game against Paris Saint-Germain, the goals have nothing to do with our press. The press we had gave us a platform for our performances. The longer we get to work at it, the better we will be. There's been a lot of games with not much training time. The lads have given it their best shot possible." That is the manager's own defence of his tactical approach. Rosenior is making a specific claim here that deserves scrutiny. He is separating the goals conceded from the pressing system itself. His argument is that the system is not the problem and that with more time and more training, it will improve. There is logic in that argument. Pressing systems require enormous levels of coordination, trust and repetition. When a squad is large, rotating and still integrating new signings, the communication gaps that can be exploited by elite opponents like Paris Saint-Germain become more likely. However, there is also a counter-argument. Chelsea conceded 5 goals in the first leg. Whether or not those goals were directly caused by the press, the overall defensive picture under Rosenior shows only 3 clean sheets since he took charge. 13 clean sheets in 47 games across the entire season tells its own story about defensive solidity or the lack of it. The confidence Rosenior shows in his system is noted, but the results on the defensive end of the pitch are not supporting that confidence yet. And with a second leg tonight where Chelsea need to score multiple goals while also keeping Paris Saint-Germain quiet, those defensive vulnerabilities are the central concern. Another tactical detail has emerged from the background of this tie. Liam Rosenior has hinted that Chelsea will stop doing their team huddle over the ball in the centre circle before a game kicks off. This has been a visible ritual for the squad under his management. And Paris Saint-Germain's head coach Luis Enrique had his own reaction to it. Luis Enrique said he was surprised by Chelsea's pre-match huddle, but added that Rosenior had explained the situation well. He also said he has a lot of respect for Rosenior and wished him well for the future, and he used the phrase "after tomorrow." This detail is small on the surface, but it carries significant weight when you read between the lines. Luis Enrique wishing Rosenior well for the future and specifically saying "after tomorrow" is a remark that clearly implies he does not expect Rosenior to be in charge much longer. That is a remarkable thing for an opposing manager to say publicly, even if it was framed within words of respect. It signals that the feeling around European football circles is that Rosenior's time at Chelsea is nearly over. The decision to drop the pre-match huddle also feels symbolic. When a manager abandons a visible ritual, it can sometimes reflect a broader recalibration, a response to criticism, or a recognition that certain things are no longer working as intended. Rosenior's willingness to adjust is noted, but these are not the adjustments that will change a 5-2 aggregate deficit. This is where the off-pitch situation becomes deeply uncomfortable for Chelsea as a football club. Chelsea supporters who were protesting against the club's owners have claimed they were told, and these are the words attributed to director Danny Finkelstein. It is obviously expressed with a strong expletive, "Obvious we are building one of the best teams in the world." That is the claim made by protesting supporters. The phrase used was blunt, dismissive and frustrated in tone. But there is more. In a separate report, Chelsea director Danny Finkelstein said there is no statistical relationship between managers and results, and that Paris Saint-Germain's head coach Luis Enrique would not have been the right appointment for Chelsea. Let me address these 2 points separately because they require different analysis. On the language used toward protesting supporters. When a club director uses strong and dismissive language in response to supporters who are raising legitimate concerns, it reveals something important about the culture in that boardroom. Supporters protest for reasons. They are not doing so to be told that everything is obviously fine. The tone of that alleged exchange, if accurate, suggests a leadership group that is confident to the point of arrogance, and that is dangerous in football. Arrogance in the boardroom has historically preceded turbulence on the pitch, on the claim that there is no statistical relationship between managers and results. This is an extraordinary statement from a club director. It is a view held in some analytical circles, particularly those who lean heavily on data and model-based football thinking. The argument runs that squad quality, recruitment systems and structures are more important than individual managers. But the Chelsea Dodgers account pushed back on this view very directly, and I think that pushback carries genuine weight. Their position was recruitment, structures and club culture play a huge part in success, but so do managers. This should never be downplayed. That response reflects what supporters and many football analysts understand intuitively. Managers matter. They make tactical decisions, they manage player psychology, they handle dressing room dynamics, they set the tone in training. To suggest statistically that this has no relationship to results is a claim that requires very careful scrutiny, especially at a club where managerial instability has been one of the defining features of the past 4 years. The further claim that Luis Enrique would not have been the right appointment for Chelsea is fascinating context. This comment, combined with Luis Enrique's own public words about Rosenior's future, paints a picture of a club where the manager's position is uncertain and where the boardroom appears to be publicly distancing itself from the idea that manager quality is the determining factor in success. That is a boardroom message that Chelsea supporters will find deeply unsettling. Now we come to the most explosive piece of news to emerge in recent hours. And I want to be very clear before I go into this. This is a rumour. This is not confirmed. I am presenting this as a rumour only because that is what the facts support. According to a source, 2 Saudi Arabian clubs and English clubs want Enzo Fernandez and could battle Paris Saint-Germain and Real Madrid for his signature. A source has said Enzo Fernandez is open to leaving Chelsea, even though he loves the club and the fans. Initial talks are said to be underway with clubs. Enzo Fernandez is described as looking for a difficult challenge, wanting to win titles and wanting to leave a mark in history. He is said to be planning to decide his future after the World Cup. That is the full picture of what has been reported as an exclusive claim. I repeat, this is a rumour at this stage. Even as a rumour, this story has enormous implications for Chelsea and it demands serious analysis. Enzo Fernandez is Chelsea's record signing. He is the midfielder around whom the modern Chelsea rebuild has been centred. He is the player who was purchased to be the heartbeat of this team for years to come. If there is genuine openness on his part to leave the club, then the questions that follow are severe. First, the motivation described is interesting. He is said to want titles and to leave a mark in history. That language is significant. It suggests that his ambitions are not currently being met at Chelsea, a club that is fighting to finish in the top 5 in the Premier League while being eliminated from the Champions League at the last 16 stage does not present itself as a title-winning destination right now. Second, the timing of this rumour on the night of Chelsea's biggest game of the season so far is uncomfortable. It creates a cloud of uncertainty around the player at the worst possible moment. Third, the mention of Paris Saint-Germain as one of the clubs interested is notable context for tonight. Chelsea are hosting Paris Saint-Germain and there is reportedly interest from that club in the player who will be on the pitch for Chelsea during that very match. That is an extraordinarily delicate situation. Again, I want to be clear, this is a rumour, nothing is confirmed, no transfer has been completed, no official approach has been made publicly. But where there is smoke at this level, the football world pays attention and Chelsea supporters deserve to know what is being discussed. Let me now take a step back and look at the full picture because everything I have walked you through in this video is happening simultaneously. This is not one story, this is a cluster of pressures hitting the same club at the same time. Chelsea are carrying a £10.75 million Premier League fine and the consequences of an academy transfer ban that affects their ability to recruit young talent for the next 9 months. They have accepted the sanctions and the violations traced back to the Abramovich era, but the Football Association process remains open, which means further consequences are possible. Chelsea are walking into a Champions League second leg without their captain Reece James, who is injured with what has been described as a hamstring issue. He was given 5 starts in the last 6 games in an attempt to manage his fitness, but the workload has taken its toll. He will be out for several weeks. Pedro Neto is available after escaping a suspension, which is one genuine positive in a sea of difficult news. The manager, Liam Rosenior, is defending his pressing system, hinting at changes to team rituals and maintaining his belief in the project. But the evidence around him suggests his position is under serious threat. Luis Enrique himself spoke about Rosenior's future after tomorrow in his pre-match comments. The Boardroom is making statements about the statistical irrelevance of managers, is using dismissive language with protesting supporters, and is projecting a confidence that appears disconnected from the difficulties playing out on the pitch. And in the background, a rumour has emerged about Enzo Fernandez being open to leaving the club to pursue titles elsewhere. This is the full picture of Chelsea on the night of their Champions League second leg against Paris Saint-Germain. The match itself requires Chelsea to overturn a 5-2 first leg defeat. They need to score multiple goals while preventing Paris Saint-Germain from scoring. Paris Saint-Germain had the weekend off and arrived in London with a near full-strength squad. Chelsea lost to Newcastle United at the weekend and are under enormous pressure both on and off the pitch. Chelsea need something remarkable tonight. The task is clear. They need an early goal. They need to impose themselves in a way that they could not in Paris. They need their supporters to create an atmosphere at Stamford Bridge that lifts the players and unsettles their opponents. The defensive record under Rosenior shows only 3 clean sheets since he took charge. Chelsea have kept just 13 clean sheets across 47 games this season. That record makes the task of keeping Paris Saint-Germain quiet for long enough to build a lead feel even more difficult. Paris Saint-Germain are laden with difference makers in the final third. Ousmane Dembele is likely to start. Kvaratskhelia Kvaratskhelia, whose introduction off the bench caused Chelsea enormous problems in the first leg, is expected to come into the starting lineup. Vitinha and João Neves will control the midfield. Fabian Ruiz is the only significant absentee on the Paris Saint-Germain side. For Chelsea, Robert Sanchez is expected to start in goal with Philip Jorgensen nursing an injury that is not believed to be major. Andre Santos and Pedro Neto are expected to return to the team. Estevao was reportedly back in training and could be involved in the matchday squad. Jamie Gittins suffered a hamstring issue on Friday and was not risked. The predicted lineup sees Sanchez in goal, Gusto, Fofana, Chalobah and Cucurella in defence, Santos and Caicedo in midfield, with Palmer, Fernandez and Neto behind the striker Pedro. This is a side that needs to play with courage, creativity and without fear. The shadow of what happened in Paris must be set aside and the Stamford Bridge crowd must be harnessed as a weapon. Whether that is enough to overturn a 5-2 deficit against one of the most complete squads in European football right now is the central question of the night. What we are witnessing at Chelsea right now is a club in transition that is also in turbulence. The ambitions articulated by the Boardroom, building one of the best teams in the world, are genuine in their intent. The investment made in the squad has been enormous, but the gap between that ambition and the current reality on the pitch remains significant. A manager whose future appears to be in question. A captain sidelined with injury on the biggest night of the season. A rumoured desire from a key player to seek a new challenge. A financial sanction from the Premier League, a Boardroom making statements that have unsettled supporters. These are not the conditions for sustained success. These are the symptoms of a club still searching for stability. Tonight at Stamford Bridge against Paris Saint-Germain, Chelsea have the opportunity to remind everyone of their quality. History has shown that this club is capable of extraordinary moments in European football. The fans who fill Stamford Bridge tonight will carry the hope that this can be one of those nights. But the honest assessment, based strictly on everything we know, is that this is an extraordinarily difficult moment for Chelsea Football Club, and how the club responds to this moment, both on the pitch tonight and in the weeks that follow, will tell us a great deal about where this project is truly headed. That is the full picture. That is the complete Chelsea situation heading into tonight. I am Maya. This is Maya on Chelsea, and I will be back with full reaction after the final whistle. Make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Where do you think this club is heading? Let me know. See you after the match.